What is up, legends? Welcome back to the Warrior Mythos. We're going to be doing something a little different today, taking a break from mythology and moving on to fantasy, so not too far off. I recorded a couple of videos of, stuff and things, and I just didn't really like how they turned out. So we're going to do something a little different here and move on to fantasy. I play this game called Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm the dungeon master for that, which means I kind of run the game for my players. It's a role-playing game. I'm sure you've heard of it. But anyways, they're going to a place where there's a totally different culture. So I'm going to walk you through how I create a culture. So this is how I do it. I open a Google Doc. You can follow along if you want with whatever culture you create. But this is really good for not just Dungeons and Dragons, but if you're working on a video game, if you're writing a fantasy book, just sort of outlining what the culture is, like if you need a new culture and all that stuff. And sort of how we do that is by this abbreviation, S.P.E.R.M. Now, don't laugh yet, but that stands for social, political, economic, religious, and military. And it's pretty easy to remember because sperm is sort of, the lifeblood of us in a sense. And so, sperm is the lifeblood of a city or culture or anything also. So sort of how I do this, I want the Utati people to be kind of like Jawas in Star Wars. That's where I'm taking my inspiration. But I think instead of 2 eyes, they'll have like 3 eyes. So let's see. First, we write a description, just a rough description. And this is all rough. You can all edit it later. The Utati people are a culture of inventors, and the first to, let's see, make guns. Yeah, that's what I wanted. And silvered weapons in the Mintok region. The Mintok region is the region they're playing on. It's sort of like, I can best describe the continent as Australia. This is the map right here, and this is the Mintok region. We got the Kenai Islands here, and I sort of inspired it off Australia, but I changed a lot. Like, this is savanna here, all this, and that's sand, like this part. Let's see if I can zoom in right here. But anyways, the Utati people are right here. So they're moving from the town of Saldia, and they have to go to the Silvered Hills, where the Utati live, to essentially get silvered weapons to kill lycanthropes who are, messing with the villagers. So they have to go all the way over here, cross the Dune Sea, and, see if these people will help them. But I want them to be totally, like, surprised. Like, I think they thought when I told them the Otaki people is they were tribal humans, which, there's a lot around this area. I've sort of hinted to that. There's the Kubati tribe and like all these tribes. Basically, the history of the area is over here in the Rin Kingdom. There was elves that lived high up and luxurious, and the humans sort of evolved, and they made their way over here, and the elves sort of had to let them in, otherwise there would be war with the humans, and so that's sort of how it went. But anyways, back to the Utati people. I want these people to be kind of like Jawas, and Jawas are the race in Star Wars. If you don't remember Jawas, images, you should remember. There we go. The Jawas right there. I want them to sort of be like that. and I want them to kind of be shocked when they kind of uncover them. But anyways, let's go biome. Silvered Hills. That's where they're going to be. And now we want to like sort of develop a rough draft of the culture as well. So I already established that they are a people of inventors, but the so how I wanted to develop them is I wanted them to not be real. I wanted them to be sort of golem people. So they're kind of animated golems, but nobody can look under the hood, so they don't know that. And sort of what I was thinking is that there was these gnomes who lived there, and they created these golems to kind of help them, and the gnomes sort of died out. Nobody knows why. And now the Utati live here, which are these golem people. So the Utati is, of course, a culture of inventors. We'll do traders as well. And blacksmiths. That's sort of how they run their economy, we'll say. Symbol, we can come back to that later. False pantheon. So this is sort of something I added. The Utati do not worship any gods in the pantheon, but instead worship their creators, the gnomes. All right, and they are just sort of the region on the map. They are, this would be east. Are east of Bardic. I don't know why I named it that. I didn't really think about how that sounded. Anyways, social. So how do they interact with each other? The Jawas in Star Wars are sort of like scavengers, and how they interact with the outside world is, they don't have a good presence, to say the least. People kind of look at them as, annoying, and nobody really likes them. But I want these guys to be inventors and kind of xenophobic in a way. So let's see. The Utati live unanimously. I don't know how to spell that. Unanimous. I don't know how to spell this word. There we go. Unanimously, with each other. I'm going to delete that. The Utati live unanimously in no sort of hierarchy. That's sort of, I don't want them, I want them to be sort of like socialists in a way. Everybody's kind of equal. There's no real hierarchy. The people run themselves. And that's sort of how Jawas live in a sense. We're also going to say nobody knows much about the Utati, but from what is told, they are a very powerful people who create powerful devices. To cross an utati may mean certain death for you and your family. So that's just sort of like I don't know, what the folklore is around them. We're gonna leave social. We'll come back to social later, but let's go to political. Oh, okay. The Utati. These will overlap. Social, political. Again, they live in no. The Utati live in no hierarchy, but instead live together harmoniously. You can write as much as you want, but I'm just kind of giving you a rough draft on what to write for this stuff. Economy, this is where stuff gets interesting. I keep having it on bold. The Utati. You don't have to start with the Utati every time. Like, you don't have to do that. The Utati live. The Utati's economy is run by a bug called powder bugs. These powder bugs, I may change the name of these to the Utati's kind of language. The powder bugs hold gunpowder, which allows the Utati to create guns and bullets. The Silvered Hills are also a huge silver deposit, making the Utati a powerful ally in currency production. I don't know. Something like that. Again, you can always change it. And I'll have to do some stuff off camera and stuff like that. But religious. Again, we'll just start with the Utati. The Utati do not worship a known entity in the greater pantheon, but instead worship their makers. We're gonna do that in quotes. Their makers. The makers were the people, gnomes, who made them and gave them life. Sounds pretty genuine, right? Of course, they would worship their makers. Hello, military. I don't want them to be like a militaristic people, but I do want them to be very secretive and semi-xenophobic, and I want them to be sort of obsessed with maybe like reptiles or something. One of my players in the party is like a dinosaur person, so I sort of want them to be like infatuated with him, like, oh, a reptile person. And sort of like how the Ewoks, um, when C3PO came to the Ewoks were like, whoa, and they saw him as a god. And so I sort of want them to see him as like this high figure, so they aren't xenophobic towards him per se. The thing you want to think about in D&D is if everybody is standoffish to your players will feel uh, like outcasts in the world of D&D, which can be a problem. All right, so military. Oh my god, I can't type. The Utati. Oh my goodness. The Utati are not a militaristic people per se, but are very powerful in the production of weapons. And I want the Utati to only have stronghold over guns. The Utati are the only people in the Mintok region who have a stronghold over guns and the production of them. The Utati also use walkers instead of animals to travel across the Dune Sea. These walkers can be very formidable in battle. Okay. They can be very formidable in battle. So my inspiration from that is this game that came out, The Last Oasis, and there's like these walker things that like are your home. They're your ships, and they got like big weapons on them and stuff like that. So yeah, that was sort of my inspiration for the Utati. Like they would drive these huge monolithic walkers that walk across the desert, and I really want them to be very alien. Like they don't really, they're kind of like in the middle of three kingdoms, right? We got the Edir Valley, which is where the three Keen are, these like insect people. We got the Rin Kingdom over here, and then Baraduk over here. And I sort of want them to be, and then there's like Saldia and like other villages here. I want them to be very sort of alien, like, oh, the Utati make silvered weapons and this other powerful weapon that nobody knows of, and they ride these huge things, and they only come out to trade once in a while, and there's like these bugs that are only found in that region, and this is like a huge silver deposit, right? And I sort of want them to be very, just like nobody knows much about them, but you know, the players are having to go over here and learn about them and hopefully not die from them. So that's sort of where I'm at here. I hope this gave you some insight into it. We're probably going to do a part 2 of this to sort of go more in depth, but I want to show you, like, this is how you create a culture, okay? For whatever you're doing. Again, could be a fantasy book, could be D&D, could be a video game, could be anything, but that's sort of how you do it here. This is sort of like the rough draft, and I'll show you maybe in the next episode sort of what I've done with this and how extensive I've gone with just this little layout: social, political, economic, religious, and military. You can get real, like, clever and just so much detail to pour into it, but one of the things you want to make sure is you don't do so much detail where you are forgetting, details. Oh, yep, where you are forgetting details. I just hit my mic. But anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this helped you out. Remember, S.P.E.R.M, social, political, economic, religious, and military. I am dehydrated. I'm going to go drink some water. Okay? I will see you guys shortly.